Hello, my crafty friends. It's me, Lisa the DIY Diva. If you are looking for over 30 Valentine DIY decor ideas, you need to watch this video.
It all just goes away. The things I plan to say. Oh, baby.
All right, for our first craft, we're only going to need a couple of things. Some felt stickers and a little metal house from the Dollar Tree, and it's already red, so this fits perfectly into my Valentine decor. So the first thing I did was pick out a heart. And when I saw these felt stickers, I was like, yes, these are exactly what I want for like putting onto a house. And then I just happened to find this little metal house. It's like a tea light house. And I was super excited because this project is so easy. You take a tea light house and you take a couple of these felt heart stickers. You stick one on the front of the house. And it was a little challenging, but I was able to reposition the stickers so that it fit just where I wanted it to go. And then I took a second heart sticker and put that over top of the first one that I had applied. And that way the light from the tea light won't be showing as much. And this project is pretty much done. How easy is that? And yes, Dollar Tree even has LED tea lights and the battery is already inside. All you have to do is turn it on and you have a flickering tea light. And you just put it in the back of the house, just like that. And there is a pretty little Valentine house. Isn't it adorable? And it was so simple to do this project. Okay, for the next project, first I found this XOXO sign, and the reason I wanted the sign was because of that metal heart, that tin heart at the top. That was my sole purpose for buying this sign. And here is an easy trick that I found to get these tin parts off of the signs from the Dollar Tree so you don't damage the tin. Just by lifting it up from the back with, I think I got that for my Cricut, you can easily remove the tin from the sign. And then I found this frame. It's a 4x6 plastic frame, and I like the depth of it, but the color wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I took everything apart and removed the glass from the frame. Then I have this Heirloom Traditions all-in-one chalk paint, which works awesome even on painting plastic, which this frame is. And I just did a couple of coats of this paint, and this is in Iron Gate. So basically it's black, and I just painted the frame with the Iron Gate paint. And now I have a picture frame in the color that I wanted it to be. So then I took some paper that I got from Hobby Lobby, and this is like shiplap paper. And I used the interior of the photo frame to cut out a smaller piece of the paper. See, it's just a little bit larger than the photo frame itself. And then I took some Mod Podge and I just painted that all over the back of the picture frame. So this is like the back part that's going to hold the picture in place. Next, I put the paper on top and just secured it down. And then I used a blade to cut off the excess of the paper around the frame. And then I took the tin heart and I painted it with my favorite gold Rust-Oleum metallic finish spray paint. And one part that I didn't film, unfortunately, was how I attached the tin heart to the frame. I used a Jenga block and I hot glued that to the shiplap paper. Then I hot glued the tin heart on top of it. All right, now if you like making blocks with words on them or letters on them, these foam dice from the Dollar Tree are really fun to work with. So what I did was just painted the blocks with several coats of white acrylic paint. Now the primary colors of the blocks, it really shows through. So this is a little bit of a time-consuming project because After I painted each of the blocks, I had to let them completely dry and then paint them again. I think I did about 4 coats of paint on each of the blocks. And you want to make sure you do really thin coats, because if you do it too thick, the paint will actually crack over the foam. Then I used my Cricut machine and I just picked a font that I liked, and using some Dollar Tree vinyl, this is a glitter kind of a rose gold vinyl, I cut out the letters XOXO. And then I just attached them to the foam blocks. And I have to say that the glitter paper from the Dollar Tree, it actually works really nice. I was really impressed. I wasn't quite sure how well it was going to work, but it really worked good. And I really like the glitter and the rose gold color on the white blocks. And here are the XOXO blocks ready to be used in some Valentine Day decorating. This is another picture, and I really liked this picture frame. I loved that it was pink. That will fit perfectly into my Valentine decorating. It was exactly what I was looking for. And I kept the frame just like it was because it was just what I wanted. Next, I coated the back, or the part that holds the picture in again, with Mod Podge. And once the back was all coated with the Mod Podge, then I found this paper from Hobby Lobby, which of course I bought it when it was 50% off. And I just applied the paper to the front, which will now be the front, of the back of the sign. And then I just cut off the excess paper so the paper will only be on the part that's going to be on the sign. Like I said, this is such an easy project. That looks pretty good. Now, I bought these hearts from Amazon, and I will leave a link down below just in case you're curious, but I got like 60 different hearts, and so I was just playing around, and I really liked how the red heart looked with the little heart background. So then I just applied some hot glue and I secured it onto the backing. And here is my adorable little Valentine sign. And it even stands up on its own. Basically a box of roses. I have this picture frame, I guess you could call it. And then I bought these roses on Amazon. These are foam roses, and this is a box of 50. Yes, 50 foam roses. They even have these metal stems, so you could easily use them for lots of different projects. And then you're going to need some floral foam. So I started by taking this block of floral foam and I just cut it so that it would fit into the picture frame. And when I put it in, this is the right size, but it's a little too tall. So I'm going to cut down the foam so that it will not be overlapping the top edge of the picture frame. And I found it's easiest to cut the foam by just kind of scoring a little bit into each side and doing that on all 4 sides and then bringing the knife all the way through the foam. So then I have my foam, and yes, this is going to work great inside the picture. So then I just use my glue gun and put some glue on the bottom for the foam to stick to. And I should mention, I got this picture. It said it was $9.99, but I actually got it in a Michael's grab bag or grab box for $5, and I got a whole bunch of stuff, and this was perfect for my project. All right, so now onto the fun part. We are going to attach the roses. So I'm basically cutting off most of the stem and then just applying a little bit of hot glue and then sticking the rose down into the floral foam. So I just did 3 rows of roses, and that is pretty much all it took to make this awesome little I guess, rose box. And what's really nice is these roses will last forever, so I don't have to worry that they're going to get wilty or anything like that. All I have to do is package them up with my Valentine's Day decorations, and I'll be able to use it year after year. So all in, as you can see, it took 9 roses to make this rose box, which means I have a lot of roses left for some more projects. And there you go. There are the roses. A box of roses. How easy was that? And this is what they look like finished. Pretty fancy, don't you think? And very easy. Oh, right. For our next project, we are just going to be painting some blocks. Now, these are our 4x4 blocks of wood that I just happened to have that were remnants of another project. And they are perfect for what I'm intending to use them for. And one of the blocks I painted a dark red. And the other block I painted, it's almost like a really light, soft pink. And it did take me 2 coats of paint to make sure that none of that wood was showing through. And once the paint was dry, then I just attached some embellishments to the front of the wood. Like this love heart. I got these wooden hearts from Amazon. It was a package of 60 hearts and it was $13.99. So the hearts cost about 24 cents a piece. And I just attached one of the hearts to the block of wood. Now for the red block, I really wanted to do the love saying, you know, L-O-V-E. So I used my Cricut machine and I just cut out the letters L-O-V-E. Now, if you wanted to get really creative, you could do L-Heart-V-E. But for me, I really just wanted it to say love. So once I had the letters all cut out, then I just attached them to some transfer tape. And I did this individually because for me, that seemed to work the best, so then I can attach the letters onto the red block of wood. And once I had all of the letters onto the transfer tape, without exposing the sticky side, I set them up just to make sure they were going to fit on the block of wood. So I started with the L and placed that letter down, then removed the transfer tape, and then I just worked my way around the block with all of the letters. There's the O and the V and the E. These are what they look like all finished. And next I'm going to make a stack of books. And I'm going to use red, a light pink, and a regular pink, I guess you could say. Those are the colors of the blocks. Now, these blocks of wood are from a 1x4 piece of lumber. Obviously, you can see I was going to use them in another project, but I cut each piece 6 inches long, and then I just painted each block a different color. So I have a pink one, a light pink one, and a red one. Now, I really wanted to find some of those book blocks, those stacked books at the Dollar Tree, but every time I went, they didn't have them. So I decided to give it a try and see if I could make my own stacked books decor. While the blocks of wood were drying, I took some wooden hearts and I painted one of them red. This is going to go on top of the stack of books, so I didn't have to paint the underside. I only needed to paint one side whatever color I wanted it to be, which happens to be red. And after my blocks of wood were all dry, then I needed to attach them together. I determined that I wanted the darker pink to go on the bottom, then the red, then the light pink. So I just used my glue gun and attached the blocks to each other. And then I found this ribbon at the Dollar Tree. It's a sheer pink ribbon, and I'm just going to wrap this around one end of my books. So using a little bit of glue, I secure the ribbon on the bottom. And this ribbon is pretty sheer, so I am going to wrap it around a couple of times so that you can really see it. But I wanted a little bit extra, not just the ribbon. So I found this baker's twine, and again, this is from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a package of 3, and this is almost like a really light spring color. And I used some of the white and pink ribbon, and I'm going to overwrap this onto the sheer ribbon that's already on my books. And again, that's pretty thin, so I'm going to wrap this around several times. And I think 3 times around is pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and secure the baker's twine on the bottom as well. So now I have the wrapped books. They kind of look like books. And then I'm going to attach the heart embellishment to the top. And I put a little bit of glue over the ribbon as well as one side of the heart. And I wanted a little bit more, so I made a bow out of the baker's twine, and I'm going to attach that to the center of the heart. And there are my stacked books. Now they just need some lettering. So again, I used my Cricut machine and I just cut out the letters, hugs and kisses, and then I attached one word to each of the stacked books. Not quite the same as what you'll find in Hobby Lobby or even Dollar Tree, but this is definitely an original piece and I made it myself. All right, so this next project, I had 2 pieces of wood that were from another project from the Dollar Tree. So I hot glue gunned them together and then I painted them to basically look like an easel or a word sign, like if you were playing Scrabble. And I added a little bit of distressing with some different colored browns and some white. And then I found these adorable Scrabble letters at Hobby Lobby, and they were about $2. So I just took some of the letters off and put them onto my little bench here. And I decided that I wanted to make this little bench say, "Be mine," and use one of the little hearts. Isn't that cute? Isn't that easy? And again, this is an original. Project. Now, this one is so much fun. I really like this wreath. I do like the love that's on the front of it, so I'm going to be really careful when I take this off because there might be another project that I could use this for. See, that's really nice. I'm sure I can find something for that. And then I unwrapped the red garland from the heart. And I was really happy to see the form underneath it because this is going to work perfect for me to actually make an awesome rose wreath. And look at all that garland I have for another project. So I'm going to be using the roses again that I got from Amazon. And I'm really glad that I got the 50 pack of roses because I'm going to use them all. So first I removed the stems from each of the roses. And next I just worked my way around the wreath form with my glue gun, putting a little bit of glue on each of the roses and attaching it to the form. And having the heart have this grid around it makes it so much easier to help the roses to stay in place. And with the roses being made from foam, they actually are very flexible and very moldable. So you can mold them the way that you need to in order to keep the heart shape of your wreath. Now I have seen where other people have done like an ombre rose wreath like this, but I didn't have those roses. So I figured I might as well use these, and I really like how pretty this is with the bright red. To me, that just signifies Valentine's Day. Now, I know this looks like it's a time-consuming project, but if you just take your time and do one row at a time, I think you're going to be really happy with your results. And the rose wreath is just about done. I do see one spot right there that it could use another rose. And I happen to have one left, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that extra rose into place. And there it is. There is my beautiful Valentine's rose wreath that is now hanging up on my wall. Do is make a yarn heart wreath, and I've got this yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I literally am just wrapping it around the wreath form, which I did get from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to wrap the entire wreath form with this yarn, and it didn't take a whole lot. I still have probably half of a skein, I think that's what it's called, of the yarn, so I can use it for another project. But I thought this would be fun to have more of a neutral colored heart instead of doing the traditional red. So I'm just going to go against the grain a little bit here and do something a little bit different. And once I had the wreath form wrapped with the chunky yarn, then I took some white yarn that's really tiny, and then I overwrapped the thick chunky yarn. And this is how it turned out. And this was so easy. Look at that. It's so pretty hanging up on the wall. I really like the different colors and the different textures of the yarn. I think it gives a little bit of a rustic farmhouse Valentine's Day decor. What do you think? All right, for our next project, we are going to make a vase, and I'm going to be using these stickers that I got at the Dollar Tree. And actually that little vase is from the Dollar Tree as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply the stickers in, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a pattern, but I just started playing around and applying the stickers onto the jar, which eventually will be my vase. And I really liked how this pattern was turning out. I think it looks really pretty, but don't worry, we're not going to leave it like this. And once I got to the point where I was really happy with the pattern and I didn't want to overdo it, I just wanted a little bit of the jewel accents just in the front of the vase. And then I took it outside and gave it a coat of satin finish white spray paint. And once it was dry, brought it back inside, and using some of this really pretty, I guess it's kind of a ribbon, but it's made out of metal. And I found this at the Dollar Tree. I went ahead and attached that around the top portion of the jar. So the vase is pretty much done, but I wanted to add some flowers. So I had these white roses that are silk roses, and they actually came from the Dollar Tree, surprise. But what I did was I just took different shades of pink acrylic paint, and I just started painting the flowers. I wasn't really sure how this was going to turn out, but actually the more that I did it, the better these ended up looking. And I think you can see on my palette, I have 2 shades of pink and then a red. So I just kind of blended all of those together to get a really unique look on my roses. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way how to do this. I just dipped the paintbrush into the paint and just randomly added some strokes of color to the silk flowers. And once they were dry, then I put a piece of styrofoam into that little vase, and then I secured the flowers in place. I really like the way those flowers turned out. And here are the finished flowers in their beautiful little vase, but look at how pretty they are. Very unique looking, and I've never seen silk flowers like that, have you? And of course, the vase. I really like how this turned out too. And for our next project, we are going to make a little riser out of this wooden hearth that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's really pretty and it has kind of a mitered edge on it. So what I'm going to do is take 3 beads, and using some wood glue from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to secure the beads onto the bottom of the wooden hearth. And then I set that off to the side to dry. And once it was dry, then it was time to paint it. So I went ahead and painted the bottom because you should paint the bottom. So I painted the bottom first, and then I flipped it over and painted the sides as well as the top. And I am using a white chalk paint. I love this chalk paint. This is Heirloom Traditions chalk paint in cashmere. And then I did also take a little bit of gray because I want this to have kind of a rustic farmhouse look. And I did different shades of gray and kind of painted in the white just to kind of make it look like it's blended together, but a little bit different. And then I took just the white chalk paint and I just repainted around that mitered edge just to make it stand out a little bit more. And I showed you this in my Dollar Tree haul. This was an adorable little loads of love truck for a tiered tray. But now I'm going to show you, these are so cool. So these were on top of toothpicks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to make farmhouse beads with them, like a little mini strand of farmhouse beads. So first I start by applying some painter's tape to the end of some jute twine. This makes it easier to thread the needle. And then I push that jute right through the eye of the needle. And now I can easily put these little heart beads onto the jute twine. Now these heart beads, like I said, were actually a part of toothpicks, and they came in a set of 20 from the Dollar Tree. And I just removed the toothpick ends and voila, I have heart beads. This will just be a tiny little accent to go across the top of that little heart riser that I just made. And I'm just tying a knot into the end of the jute twine on one side. So if I did want to hang this up, I could. And then next I'm going to make a tassel for the other end. And making tassels is really easy. Just wrap some jute twine or yarn, whatever you have, around your hand. And the more you wrap it around, the thicker it's going to be. So then I'm just going to take another piece of jute and tie it to one end of that loop that I had around my hand. And then I'm going to cut the opposite end. That's going to be the bottom and like where it gets really full with the tassel. Now for the top, what I'm going to do is take one of those ends that I used to tie the knot in, and I'm going to pull that through the top. And then I'm going to kind of work around the pieces of jute, and using another piece, I'm going to tie the top section off. And this one didn't have to be very big because this is a really small little bead strand. And once I had that knot secure, then I cut the little pieces from that piece of twine. And now I'm going to cut the bottom off so that all of the ends are nice and equal. And then I'm going to secure that tassel to the end of my tiny strand of heart farmhouse beads. And there they are. Look at how adorable those are laying on top of that little heart riser that I just made. Super cute and super easy. Well, this one is so much fun. So I started with a blank. This was actually a pumpkin sign from the Dollar Tree that I had painted white. Then I added in some gray and black acrylic paint and just kind of blended them a little bit so that I get different shades on the front of it. And then I took a heart that I got from the Dollar Tree. This was actually a part of a wreath. And I just took some baker's twine and I wrapped that around the heart. And if this is your first time joining, welcome, and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa, and I love sharing motivational home decor and DIY videos with you. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your continuing support. Now, I did end up using all of that string that was on that one little roll, but that's okay because now I'm going to come in with another layer of string, and this is the jute twine, again from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to continue wrapping all around the heart. My goal is to have this be pretty covered, but I do want to see that baker's twine in between the jute twine so that you can see different layers of the material going around the heart. Next, I took this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, I cut it into strips, and now I'm going to secure it onto the front portion of the heart. And this was easy to do just using a glue gun. I did use that little finger cup because that does protect your finger very well from the heat of the glue gun, and you can find those at the Dollar Tree too. And when I was done with the front, then I flipped it over and basically just secured all of those loose pieces onto the back of the heart. Now you could cut it if you wanted to, but I really like the look. It gives it a little bit of a puffier look on the front, which you'll be able to see when I'm all finished. Isn't that pretty? All right, so now my blank has completely dried, so I'm going to use hot glue again, and I'm going to secure that to the front of that sign that I just painted. And then I did add some yarn, and I wrote out the word love on the bottom before hanging it up. I really love the different layers. Super pretty and super easy. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. So this is from the Dollar Tree, and it's in the Dollar Plus section. And this is just a wood tray that measures 11 by 14. Then I'm going to take some air dry clay and I'm just going to roll this out. And then on that tray, I'm going to form this so it makes like a U, like a really long U. And then I'm going to repeat the process and do it again. And can you tell what this is going to be? This is going to be a heart. And I really like the way that those pieces are ending up. So I set them off the side to dry. And then I did give a coat of white chalk paint to that little tray. And when that was dried, then I took some spackle, and this is like ultra lightweight spackle, and I added that to the back of the tray. And what this is going to do is give it some texture. I want it to look rough and I want it to be a little bit raised, but all going in straight lines, mostly. And once my air dry clay was dry, then I took the pieces and assembled them onto the tray. I did use some hot glue to secure the pieces in place. And then I filled in each section of the air dry clay. And again, I wanted it to have a rough appearance. I wanted to be able to see the different lines in the spackle. And then I repeated the process on the other side of the air dry clay, so the other side of the heart. And once it was dry, then I took some chalk paint that I had mixed a little bit of spackle in because again, I really wanted to show some texture. And then I painted everything on the inside with that spackle paste chalk paint combination. And this is how it turned out. I think it turned out so pretty. And I was actually inspired to create this when I found something similar on Pottery Barn for $143. I think mine cost about $5, so I'm pretty happy with my results. All right, so here is my farm truck. And as you can see, a couple of the wheels fell off. So I'm going to have to fix those at the end of this, but this was the truck I found. It's a metal truck. I found it on Amazon for about $10 and I really like the grill, so I'm going to keep those original. And I like the tires, especially the ones that are still in place. So I'm going to cover those up as well. And I thought, you know, I could end up just repainting everything and making it look brand new, but I really did like how the grill and the front bumper of this truck were. So I decided to cover them up with some painter's tape to protect them and then also to make it so I don't have to paint them. And even though this is a smaller project, I just tore pieces of the painter's tape off and just kind of fit it to everything that I wanted to stay original. It works much better to work with small pieces of tape and use more of them rather than using big pieces of tape and trying to make it work. And I know this might seem like a painstaking process, but in the end, you'll be very happy that you took the time to do this. All right, the grill is all taped off. And I only have to tape off 2 tires because the other 2 tires came off, so I don't have to worry about taping them, because I don't have to worry that they're going to get any overspray or paint on them. So I just taped off the tires on the back of the truck. And then got to work for the interior because the interior is actually painted white and I like that. So I wanted it to stay white. I didn't want to have to try to figure out how to paint it. So I just used some painter's tape and taped off the windows so that the pink spray paint will not get on the inside of the truck. And now we're going to paint it. And I found this paint. It's a high gloss paint. I found it actually at True Value, and that was the only place I could find pink spray paint. So I just did a couple of coats of pink spray paint all over the truck and tried to take my time, but it was pretty exciting to see the shininess and the pinkness of my little farm truck. It did take a couple of coats to cover up that happy harvest that was written on the sides, but overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. That is one shiny pink truck. So now that it's all dry, all I have to do is remove the tape from the wheels, the grill, and the inside of the truck. And I think you can see my tape job did pretty well. There's no overspray, which is great. So now I'm just really curious of how the inside is and hoping that it looks the same and that it's nice and the original white. And it's so exciting to see the end result of my paint job. I did really well. I didn't get any overspray on any of the original part. I wanted to keep those original colors. Now I did end up painting the lights on the front as well as the door handles because that just really wasn't worth the work it would have created. So now I'm just taking some silver paint and painting the headlights as well as the door handles. And then of course I have to repair it and put the wheels back on the front. But there you go. My little pink farm truck is ready for some flowers. And I just used random pieces of floral arrangements that I had, some that I'd already used, and some random greenery to get the look that I wanted for the back of the truck, because basically I just wanted to fill it up with flowers. And like all of my projects, there's no rhyme or reason. I just kind of put things in where I thought they would work. And if it didn't work, then I just took it out and added something different until I got the look that I wanted. Oh, that's just so cute. I'm so happy with this. And there is my adorable spring farm truck. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so adorable. And this is exactly what I was hoping to achieve. A pink farm truck with flowers in the back. And actually, this project was very easy. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And the end result is exactly what I wanted. So now with this project done, it's on to a new one. Okay, so the first thing you'll need is a wiffle ball and these foam roses from the Dollar Tree. And they come in a pack of 18. And I actually ended up using 3 packages of these foam roses. And all we're going to do is dump out all the roses. And then we're going to glue them to the wiffle ball. So this hot glue gun is actually on a low temperature because it's really hot. And I just spread the glue around and then attach the foam flowers to the ball. And I tried to keep the flowers pretty close because I don't want that yellow showing through. And then I just worked my way around the entire ball and just covered it with these foam flowers. This is so much fun, and I love the Dollar Tree with all of these little embellishments because you can make some really great crafts and DIY projects that don't necessarily look DIY. So I just worked my way all the way around the wiffle ball, attaching all of these beautiful little pink foam flowers. And I think they actually have these in red too. So if you wanted to do this topiary with red foam flowers, you could do that too. All right, we are almost at the end. We have covered the entire wiffle ball with these pink foam flowers. And the foam flowers are really nice because even if there's a little space, you can squeeze one in, just like that. All right, so now we have the topiary part of our project done. Now we have to make the stem that it's going to go onto. And I found these wooden skewers or bamboo skewers at the Dollar Tree. And then I found some dough. I guess this is kind of like Play-Doh. That is what I'm going to wrap around the skewer to make this look like a stem. So I just rolled it out using my hand to make it pretty thin. So then I took the line of the rolled out dough and I just rolled it around the skewer. And I did apply a little bit of pressure to help keep it in place. And then I just kind of secured it down at the bottom. And there's the stem for my topiary. And of course, I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum paint to make it beautiful. And the easiest way to paint this is to put it into a piece of the green floral foam, which you can also find at the Dollar Tree. And I found this really pretty jar, and it's going to be the base of our topiary. So I'm going to use some Mod Podge, and I happen to have some sparkle Mod Podge, and then I had some glitter because I don't want the clear part showing. So I'm going to coat all of the clear area with Mod Podge. And this was a little bit challenging, so I ended up dumping in some Mod Podge to the little vase, and then I just used my paintbrush and worked my way all the way around, making sure everything was coated with the Mod Podge. Now this was the first time that I actually saw one of these little vases there, and I really liked the gold on it, and I thought that would work really well with this topiary. So then I just dumped in some glitter. This is ultra fine glitter, and I think I got this at Hobby Lobby a couple of years ago, but I just dumped it into the vase, and then I just spun the vase around and turned it, and then dumped the glitter back into its original container. So I can still see a little bit of clear glass, so I'm going to go ahead and do this again with the glitter and just make sure that it's coating everything because I don't want any clear showing. All right, so here is my little topiary with the gold stem in place. Now, it did take a lot of hot glue to get this to stand up, but eventually it did. It was just a very slow process. So now that I have my topiary tree ready to go, I need to have something to secure it into the vase. So I took another piece of the floral foam and just cut little pieces off until I got it to the size it needed to be for the vase. Or I guess this is probably a candle holder. It fits in there really well, but it's a little bit tall. So I was thinking, how am I going to make this even? So I just put the knife in and then just cut off the excess with that little knife. And that's actually a Subway knife. They work really good for crafting projects. So then I don't really want to tear up my little Play-Doh on my stem. So I used the back of a paintbrush, and then I used the back of a larger paintbrush to make a hole in the center of the foam. Then tested it out. And that is pretty close of where I want it to be. I am happy with that. So now all I have to do is secure the foam into the vase. So I just use my glue gun again. Again, this is on a low setting. So I secure the foam inside, and then I'm also going to put some hot glue down the center of the floral foam. Because this is a pretty tall project, I really want to make sure that my topiary is secure. And then I just carefully inserted the topiary tree. Got it to where I was happy with the positioning, and there it is. That is the tree. Look at how cute that is already. It's a little wobbly, but it's still really pretty. Now I've got to cover up that base so you can't see the foam, right? And I found this green floral moss at the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to use some of that and put it over the top where the floral foam is sticking out, because I don't really want anyone to see that. So I used my hot glue gun and put some glue on the foam. And then I took small pieces of the moss and then just put it around the base of the topiary. And actually you get a lot of this green floral moss. I think this is also called reindeer moss. I'm not 100% sure. And then I'm just trimming up a little bit of the edges because I don't want that hanging over the sides. And there is the base of my topiary tree. And here is what it looks like all done, sitting on my craft table. And here it is in my Valentine DIY projects, just kind of hanging out, looking pretty. This was such a fun project. Look at how beautiful that is. And would you have even guessed that I made this using things from the Dollar Tree? And then I had a few little extras from the Dollar Tree, so I added those in, including these little hearts that were on toothpicks. And I really like the hearts, so I just pulled them off the top of the toothpicks and then just randomly placed them on each of the trays, along with some silk flowers. And then I also found these wooden hearts at the Dollar Tree. You get a whole bunch of them, and I just kind of added those as well. And this is the end result. This is my awesome trash to treasure thrift store tiered tray that I was able to make for less than $10. I am so pleased with how this turned out. It is so pretty, and I think you can kind of see the finish. The semi-gloss finish is just, it's just really unique. Not too shiny and not too matte. I've got this scrap piece of wood that I've had in my craft room for such a long time, and I really wanted to do something with it. First I stained it, and then I applied a layer of Mod Podge. Next I went on Creative Fabrica and I found a really cute Lovebird image. So first I printed it off on my printer. It's not anything fancy, just an Epson inkjet printer on regular copy paper, and then I attached it to my scrap piece of wood. I just used my hands and pressed down around the edges just to really make sure that this is secure while the Mod Podge is drying. And then I removed the excess paper, cutting it down so it's just a little bit larger than the piece of wood. And if you're curious, this is a 2x6 piece of lumber. Now, once the Mod Podge had time to completely dry, I came back with this tiny little ironing tool and I just ironed the entire print. This will help to get rid of any wrinkles and really help to make sure it's secure to the wood. And this will also help the paper to look like it's a part of the wood, not like I decoupaged a piece of paper onto a scrap piece of wood. And once I was happy with how the paper was looking on the wood, then I came back with my tiny little hand sanding tool and I removed the excess paper from the wood. This is a really easy way to get a nice edge that doesn't look like you cut it with the scissors. Then I came back with a little bit of Tim Holtz Distressing ink, and I believe this one is Antique Photo, and I just used a little bit of that all around the edges of the paper. But I wanted to add a little bit of something extra, and I had this drawer pull in my stash. I got it from Hobby Lobby. It's not anything fancy, but I used a little bit of B7000 glue. This glue is very similar to E6000, and I put some of the glue onto the bottom part of the drawer pull, and then I attached it to the top of the wood. Talk about an easy project. Look at how cute this is. Oh my goodness, this is such a fun and simple project that you can make not only for Valentine's Day, but for any holiday or anytime you want to add something new to your decor. I really like the Lovebirds. I think they are so pretty and they fit perfectly into my Valentine decorating this year. Now this is going to be a string art project, and again I'm using a scrap piece of wood. This is just a piece of 2x4 wood that I had for another project, and I don't need it to be black for this project, and the wood is a little bit rough, so I used my little sanding tool just to sand out any of the rough edges, and I wanted to see if I could carve a line into a little bit less than the middle part of the wood. I was trying it with my sander, but it wasn't really working very well, so I went out into the garage and I took this saw and just sawed into the wood a little bit because I want to see a little bit of a separation, almost carve a little bit of a separation into the wood. So I'm not going very deep, I'm just sawing a little tiny bit. And by using this saw, it's a lot easier to do than trying to do it with a little hand sander. But I did use my hand sander to kind of smooth out the edges of the slice that I made in the wood. So now I'm going to use some Dixie Belle French linen chalk paint, and I'm going to paint this entire piece of wood. I'm going to paint the top, the sides, the back, and the front, all with this Dixie Belle paint. The Dixie Belle paint, I know I've said it before, but this is such a fantastic craft paint because you don't need very much. It does go a long way, and you can usually get a complete coverage with just one coat of the paint. And while I do like that gray, I do want this to be lighter and look a little older. So I came back with some antique white acrylic paint and I dry brushed this onto the block of wood. So dry brushing means I'm still going to see some of that original color show through. It's not going to be solid white. This is going to definitely give it a more rustic appearance. I want it to look old and weathered. So once that had dried, I came back and used my sanding block again to sand off some of the paint. I wanted to see if I could get it down to some of the bare and raw wood that's going to go along with the white paint. It's really going to help add to this rustic and distressed look. Now once it had dried, I cut out a heart just with some printer paper, and then I found these nails on Amazon. I want to do a string art heart for this project, and I've never done string art before, so the nails I got are really tiny and I couldn't even get them in between my fingers and then have some space to nail. I was really beginning to second guess my choice of doing this. And then I figured out, hey, wait, let's take a tweezer and see if this will make it easier to secure the nails into the wood. And yes, the tweezers work. So if you want to do a project like this, using tweezers is very helpful. And I think I forgot to tell you that I cut the heart out of just plain copy paper, and I'm using that as a template that I'm going to nail the nails into for this project. So I just took those little tiny nails and nailed all the way around the heart, making an outline. And then I used a weeding tool to remove that copy paper. And as you can see up above, one of the nails did come loose when I was doing that. But that's all right because I still have that nail hole, so I know where it needs to go. And there's my heart outline with the nails. So to do the string craft, I found this thread or string at Hobby Lobby, and it was really affordable at $1.99. I started with the pink string and I tied a knot around one of the nails, and then I just weaved the string in between all of the nails that make up the heart shape. Now, I've never done string art before, so I don't know if there's a pattern you're supposed to follow or if there's a set way that you're supposed to do it, but I just randomly picked different nails and looped the string around it and just went in between all of the nails on the inside of the heart shape. And as I got finished with the pink string, I did go all the way around the outline of the heart, so you can really begin to tell what this is going to be. And when I was finished with that, I just tied a knot into the piece of string and clipped off the excess, and then started with the red string. I did the exact same process when I started, and I just made a loop and tied the string around one of the nails, and I didn't want the string to come loose, so I did tie it into a square knot. So that's going to be the starting point for the red string in my project. And then I just started wrapping the red string around the nails as well. One thing to keep in mind if you're going to be doing this project, depending on how long your nails are, that's going to determine how many times you can wrap the string around. So I think the nails that I got were a little bit short for this. It would have been more fun if the nails were just a little bit longer, so I had more space to do the different colors of the string. And again, no rhyme or reason of how I was wrapping the string, but when I did get close to wanting to be finished with the red, I did again do the outline of the heart. Then I came back with some more pink string, and I wanted this to be a little bit more deliberate of a pattern, so I just weaved it back and forth between the nails on either side of the heart. And when I was finished with the pink string again, I tied a knot around one of the nails and then cut away the excess. And I wanted to write something on the bottom part of this piece of wood, and I have these stamps that connect together, and I wrote out a saying that would fit on the bottom part. And these stamps have both uppercase and lowercase letters, but I decided for this project I wanted the lettering to be all uppercase. You make my heart smile. And I couldn't see the lettering very well, so I did come back with a paint pen and darkened in the letters a little bit. And this is the project. This is what it looks like all done. You make my heart smile. I love how this turned out. This is so cute. And I was inspired to make this because I saw something like this on Amazon and I didn't want to spend money on it. So I wanted to see if I could make it myself. I love these frames from the Dollar Tree. So I believe this is actually supposed to be a dry erase board, but I'm using it as a picture frame. They are just so pretty and I love the detail on the top of the frame. And it's really easy to remove the dry erase portion on the inside of the frame. Everything just comes out and then you can use it as a picture frame or a dry erase board if that's what you wanted to do. I don't want the gold coloring for my project. So what I'm going to do is take the Dixie Belle French linen chalk paint again, and I'm going to paint the entire frame with the chalk paint. The French linen is a gray. I would say this is probably a medium gray. And like all of the other projects I've been doing, it only took one coat of the Dixie Belle paint to completely cover all of the gold on the frame. Now, once that dried, I wanted to use some Rub and Buff to give it some highlight. And this Rub and Buff is in Silver Leaf. So it's a very shiny silver. And if you've never used Rub and Buff before, you don't have to use very much. Now I have a sponge dauber on the end of this ink blotter. I don't know what this tool is called. I will leave a link to it in the description box in case you want to check it out for yourself. And I just put a little bit of the Silver Leaf Rub and Buff onto the sponge part of the dauber. And then I just used it as a highlighter for the frame. The Silver Leaf looks really nice against the French linen paint. It looks really pretty. Now, I did decide to use that dry erase portion for this project, and this actually did take 2 coats of the Dixie Belle paint to completely cover it. Now, I had these tiny little letters. I believe I got this on Temu, however you say that, and they're just unfinished wood lettering. So I took some of that French linen paint and I painted all of the letters. Now, here's a quick tip. If you're painting letters like this or something super small, if you put them onto some sort of tape, this is the frog tape, it gives it a sticky background to keep the letter in place so you don't end up painting your fingers. And I forgot to tell you the background that I painted the dry erase portion with, that was in Dixie Belle Fluff. And my lettering, that was also in the French linen. And I just used a little bit of Mod Podge to secure each of the letters in place. And if you don't push down the letters like really firm at first, there is a little bit of play so you can maneuver them and move them around so that you can get them where you want them to be without committing to it. Isn't that cute? That's gonna be so pretty. And once the lettering was dry and the Mod Podge had dried, all I had to do was put that dry erase board back into the frame and then secure the back on. And there's my finished sign. And here it is in my decor. I love how this turned out. I have always wanted to make a sign that says this for my husband. All of these I made basically for my husband. Even though I'm the one that loves Valentine's Day, I made them for him. I was so excited when I went to Dollar Tree and saw this heart. And it says Our Love on it, but I'm not going to use it like this. No, I'm going to be doing a Pottery Barn dupe because they have a heart shape like this, and it's about $30. So when I found this wooden heart at Dollar Tree, I was so excited. And I was even more excited because the heart actually had a wood grain pattern. I thought that was so pretty. You just can't sand too much because then you'll sand off the wood grain pattern. And once I had it all sanded, I mixed a couple of paints together. I used some country tan along with some antique white, and that's by Folk Art, and I just mixed them together. I want to have this emulate the look of the Pottery Barn heart. I did add in a little bit of salt wash because I do want this paint to have some texture because I want to add extra texture to the heart. And if you don't have salt wash, you can use plaster of Paris, you can use baking soda, whatever you have on hand. And once I had the paint the consistency that I wanted it to be, then I just started painting the heart. I did make sure to get all the way around the sides first. That makes it easier when you're painting the top of the heart. And I think you can see the texture that this paint gives. And again, I am using a pretty heavy-handed painting technique because I want the texture. And this is what it looked like when it dried. Next, I came back with some of that antique white acrylic paint and I lightly brushed or dry brushed it all over the heart. I really paid attention to the sides where it joins to the top to give a little bit more of a highlighted appearance. And here is my Pottery Barn dupe or Pottery Barn DIY that I made for $1.25 instead of spending $30. I think this is so pretty, and there's so many different ways that you can use it in your decorating. Now, I've had these wooden houses for some time now and I haven't used them, so I decided to use them now. I'm going to put some Mod Podge on the plain side, and then I had this scrapbooking paper and I cut out a piece of it so that it will fit on top of the house. And while the Mod Podge was drying on the front, I took some Dixie Belle paint and I painted the back of the house because, like I said, I hadn't finished this project and the paint that was on it, it was a little bit not what I wanted. So I just painted over the back of the house and then I cut the paper down so it's almost the same size as the house. And then I did a little bit more of the Dixie Belle paint on the sides and the back of the house as well. Now, once everything had dried, this is what it looked like. And I took my little hand sander and sanded off all of the excess paper around the edges. Then I took some jute twine and wrapped it around the house. I did it just to where the roof line is, and then I secured it in the back with some hot glue. Next, I took some distressing ink and I wiped off any remnants from sanding. And then I lightly wiped some of the distressing ink all around the edges of the house. Now I want to make a bow, but I didn't have small ribbon for a bow that I wanted to make like this. So I just cut down larger ribbon that I had and made a tiny little bow. And to keep my bow together, I used jute twine for the center. Then I decided where my bow was going to go on the house, put a little bit of hot glue, and then secured the bow in place. But I have to be a little bit extra, and since it is Valentine's Day, I took a wooden heart and I put some jute twine through the center of it to make it look like it was sewn on, and then I attached that to the bow as well. So simple, but so stinking cute. I love how this turned out, and it makes a great addition to my tiered tray. Now, I have this crate from Dollar Tree. I love these things. I have so many of them. But not all Dollar Tree crates are the same size. And you're looking for crates that are similar in size, I would highly encourage you to check out the sizes of the crates you have before making a purchase. Now I'm going to start with this Country Tan paint, and this is by Apple Barrel. So I'm going to paint every part of this crate with the Country Tan paint. The inside, the outside, the bottom, everywhere is going to be covered with this paint color. Now, once that had completely dried, I came back with Folk Art Crackle coat. This stuff is so much fun to work with. And I did a pretty heavy coat of the Crackle medium over top the outside of the crate. Once that was completely dry, I came back with Folk Art Vintage White paint. So I'm going to paint a coat of the Vintage White over top of the Country Tan. And I've had the best results with the Crackle coat if I keep all of my strokes going in one direction. I did go ahead and make sure to get the top edge of the crate as well. And you can see the crackling is already happening on my crate. Now, once the top coat had dried, I came back with some distressing ink, and this is walnut stain, and I used that around the edges of my crate. So the top and the sides and even the bottom, but I want to keep the middle portion of the crate original and not have any of the stain on it. And I wanted to have thinner ribbon with polka dots, but I didn't have any. So I decided to see if I could make my own polka dotted ribbon by cutting down some cream color ribbon that I had. And then I took some red acrylic paint and just put dots on it. I know it's not the same as store-bought, but you know, you use what you have, right? So while that was drying, I took some other ribbon and I glued that around the crate. And once I had the larger ribbon in place, then I came back with some fabric that I cut down to make it look like a ribbon. And I glued that in the center of the ribbon that was already on place on the crate. And once I had the fabric in place, then it was time to put the polka dotted ribbon on. And I just glued that on top of the other fabric and secured it to the back of the crate as well. Next, I came back with some fabric that I had made into a bow, and I hot glued a couple of different size bows to the front of the crate. This is going right in the center. I think it might look kind of nice too if the bow was offset and maybe like on one side of the crate. That would look nice too. I did want my bows to have little tiny tails, so I ended up gluing those on separately. And I just pushed the fabric up to make it look like it was wrinkled a little bit on the crate. First, I did it with the homespun fabric, and then I did have enough of my homemade polka dotted ribbon that I was able to do that as well. Next, I had some wooden hearts that again have been in my stash for a long time, so I painted them different shades of red, and then I used the distressing ink all around the edges. Now, I wanted to give this a little bit of a rustic look, so I just flinged some paint. This is the vintage white paint. I just kind of splattered that onto the hearts. Then I took some Dollar Tree floral foam and I tilted it at an angle into the crate. And then I used some of this, it's like raffia, but it's not. I don't know what this is really, but it's almost like really thin strips of wood that's kind of curly. I got it at Michael's. If I can think of what it's called, then I will put a link in the description box for you. But this is something really fun. It's a little bit different than Spanish moss. And I really like the look that it gives because it's just that lighter color. And I just glued that to the floral foam that's in the crate. Once I was finished with that, I used some hot glue and secured the hearts that I had painted into the crate. I started with the larger hearts first, and then I moved on to the smaller hearts. And I don't think there's any right or wrong way how to do this. Just do what you like and what looks good to you. I think that's really cute. I love this. I love how it turned out. It was a little bit of work, but it was completely worth it in the end. I think this is a great addition to my Valentine decorations. So I have a couple of these bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree, along with some Dollar Tree wood glue, some beads, and some bamboo skewers. So I want to make a riser out of these bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to take these beads, and using one of the Dollar Tree bamboo skewers, I'm going to put the beads onto the skewer. So the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to make this riser. It's going to have both of these bamboo cutting boards. And by using the bamboo skewer, I can line up the beads very easily. And this is going to be one side. So then I just take a little bit of Dollar Tree wood glue, put it along one side, and then I put the bamboo skewer full of beads onto the long side. Then I repeat the process on the other long side. Now for the two shorter sides, I'm just going to take the beads and I'm going to stand them up so that the holes are going to be on the top. So you won't see the holes at all for the most part all the way around this riser. I repeated the process on the other short side of the bamboo cutting board. And while that was drying, I took a few knobs. These are just wooden knobs, and I think I got these at Hobby Lobby, but I'm just going to use these knobs as feet for the riser. So on the other bamboo cutting board, I'm going to attach those knobs, one to each corner, and then let it dry. And once both of the cutting boards had dried, I came back with some more Dollar Tree wood glue, and I put a little bit of wood glue onto all of the top of the beads on the first cutting board that I had been working on. And once I had enough glue on the beads, then I basically sandwiched both of the cutting boards together. And the fun part was I got to remove the bamboo skewers, and just like that, I have a really pretty riser. So I'm going to take some Dixie Belle coffee bean chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the entire riser. Now, if you wanted to leave this plain and have a natural look, you could totally do that, but I wanted a dark finish to the riser. So I was very careful and just used a little bit of the Dixie Belle chalk paint because a little bit goes a long way. And I painted all of the sides where the beads were, And then I came back and painted the top and the bottom of the cutting boards. So any of the natural color, that's all going to be covered up with the Dixie Belle coffee bean paint. I really like this color. Now, once that was all dry, I came back with some acrylic paint. I believe this was in Antique Parchment by Folk Art, and I lightly brushed a little bit of the lighter color all over the riser. I just want to highlight a little bit so you can still see most of that darker color, but I really wanted to lighten it up with a little bit of that acrylic paint. And I made sure to do all of the sides, and I even did the bottom as well. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? This was such an easy project. Most of the supplies did come from the Dollar Tree, with the exception of the wood beads that I found on Amazon. But I like making risers like this. You can find these on Etsy and they'll cost around $30, but I was able to make this for less than $5 if you don't count the chalk paint. The Dixie Belle chalk paint, while it's a little bit more expensive, I've been really impressed with this paint and I love it, and a little bit does go a long way. So to me, it is totally worth it when I'm taking Dollar Tree supplies and I want to make the end result look really high end. Now, if you go to Dollar Tree right now, you can find these wooden houses. Now, I really like this. It was so cute. I love the shape, but I wasn't too crazy about the words. I want to make this more original and more my own. So first I removed the roof line from the wooden house. It was really easy to remove. There wasn't much glue holding it onto the piece. Then I came back with a sander and I sanded down all of the words. I am going to be using this in my Valentine decor, but I wanted it to be a little bit simpler and I didn't want any words on the house. But I did really like the pink color, but I think I was looking for a more soft pink color. So once I sanded down all of the words off of the house and used a towel to remove any of the dust, then I came back with some Folk Art multi-surface pink paint. Now I really liked this paint. I thought it was pretty, but as I put it onto the house, I noticed it was pretty much the same color that the house already was. So I did decide to lighten it up a little bit with a softer pink, and it's actually a Folk Art chalk paint in pink that I used to get the color that I wanted this house to be. And once I was happy with the color and it was dry, I came back with some Dixie Belle. I don't know what color this is. It's like cream puff or something. I can't remember, but it's kind of a cream color. And I lightly brushed some of that paint across all over the house because I want my house to look a little more rustic. And once that was dry, I did sand off some of the paint that I had just added, but this is going to give it a more rustic look. And I'm going to be adding some beads, but I didn't have any pink beads. So I took a little bit of paint and just put the beads into the paint, and then I wiped off the excess. I don't want these to have a solid pink color. I want them to look kind of faded. So I find that by wiping off some of the paint while it's still wet will give it a softer appearance on the beads. And while my beads were drying, then I came back with a little bit of distressing ink and I lightly brushed that around all of the sides of the house. This is definitely a way to get a little bit of antique or a more rustic appearance on the projects that you're working on. Now, I was really tempted to add a little bit of that distressing ink to the center of the house, but I refrained and just kept it on the outer outline. Next, I came back with some jute twine and I had a bundle of it. I believe there were 6 strands, And I just want it right at the roof line of the house, so I'm going to secure it to the back of the house using some hot glue. And these silicone sticks really help that I can push the glue down into the project and not burn my fingers. Next, I wrapped the strands of the jute twine around the front of the house, and then I just secured the other side to the back of the house as well. And once the jute had time to dry, I did trim off the excess. Now, I didn't have any raffia, but I did have a Dollar Tree hula skirt. This works really well if you need raffia, but you don't have any, because I want to have a raffia bow for the house. So I just cut off a few strands of the hula skirt, and then I tied a bow. So this is just a basic bow that you would tie like on your shoelace. And then I just moved the bow parts themselves a little bit to get them to be the size that I wanted. So I'm going to attach this to the jute twine. But I wanted to put the beads on first. And I found this tool on Amazon. It is so helpful if you are stringing beads together. It makes it much easier. So I took a pink bead, a white bead, and a natural bead. Then I took some jute twine. And using that beading tool, I just pulled the beads onto the jute. Next, I just tied a square knot in the bottom of one side of the jute. I put the beads where I wanted them to be at the end, and then I just removed the excess jute. I did leave a little bit of extra jute, so it's longer on one end, because I'm duplicating the process with another strand of beads. Then I'm going to tie them together. And then using a little bit of hot glue on the first jute twine that's on the house, then I secured the two strands of the beads. Next, I took my hula skirt bow that's supposed to be a raffia bow, and I secured that right on top of the bead strands that were hanging down. And that is pretty much it. This is such an easy project. No crickets required. Unless you want to leave the words, you can. You could probably lightly brush the paint over top of the lettering and the words that are already on this house. But I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be plain. And it makes me really happy with how this turned out. I think this will make a great addition to my Valentine decor this year. And I think it looks nice with the riser as well. What do you think? And keeping on with the Valentine's theme, I found these hearts at Dollar Tree. This was on my last Dollar Tree outing. Look at these cute conversation hearts. They are really nice, thick pieces of wood. And there's so many different ways that you can use these in your decorating. But I'm going to have these be simple, so I'm going to go ahead and sand down the lettering on each of the hearts. And for this project, I am going to be using 3 hearts. Now, I wasn't quite sure what colors I wanted these to be, so I did use different shades of pink for one of the hearts. I added in a little bit of purple because I was kind of looking for more of a mauve-y pink, and these are just acrylic paints. Nothing fancy with these. They're like 50 cents at Walmart. And I do like that pink, but it's a little too pink. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to come over to the other 2 hearts that I have, and I'm going to paint them. And this is just white acrylic paint. Now there's my first heart, that's the pink one. And again, it's a little too pink for what I was wanting. So I came back with some red acrylic paint as well as some purple. And I just mixed the colors together until I got the color that I wanted. And this was a little bit of a softer pink, kind of a red color almost. And I do like this. I think this is going to look good for this project. Next, I used some smaller wood hearts and I painted them that same red color. And then I just set them to dry. And once everything was dry, I came back with a deeper red paint and I used that for one of the hearts. I just lightly dry brushed that paint onto the heart just so it's kind of picking up some of the shadows and looks like shadows and highlights. Next, I came back with some antique parchment paint and I put that onto the red heart. Again, just using a dry brush technique, so there isn't very much paint on the brush and I just lightly brushed it across the surface. Now on the third heart, I wanted to have some polka dots. And I don't have anything that I can make polka dots with, but I found if you use just a smaller paintbrush and move your fingers around like in a circle, you can get some really nice polka dots with pretty close to perfect circles. So I just added some random polka dots to my heart. I like that. And when the hearts were all dry, I came back with some sandpaper and lightly sanded off some of the paint. I did this on each of the hearts. I really liked doing it on the polka dots because it really gave them a rustic appearance. Next, I did the same thing. I just sanded down some of the edges and some of the paint off the smaller hearts. Next, I used a little bit of distressing ink on the small hearts. I like to use the distressing ink because it really does give it more of an aged appearance and it will make the colors a little bit different when I put them onto the bigger hearts. And I wanted to add a little dimension to each of the smaller hearts, so I came back with some very small pieces of jute and I made loops and secured 3 or 4 loops on each side of those tiny hearts. And then I added some jute twine to each of these hearts. Now, what's fun with these conversation hearts from the Dollar Tree is they are large enough and thick enough that they will stand up on their side all by themselves. You don't have to add anything extra to them. So I wanted to make these hearts look like they were all part of a collection. So even though they're different, they are going to have some similarities. So I'm using a little bit of jute twine that I tied together and I secured that on the front of each of the hearts just over the middle, and then I separated the strands and glued them to the back side of the heart. And on each heart, I did use a different number of strands. So on this one, on the one side, it has 4 strands of the jute, and each strand is secured separately onto the back of the heart. Then I took another bundle of jute twine and I secured it close to the other section of jute, and using my hot glue gun, I just pushed that down. I'm not going to have this side wrap around the heart, but it's going to go just to the edge. And the reason I did that, like I said, I'm going to have these stand up on their side, and if that jute is going around the side, then that could interfere with how it's going to stand up. And I wanted to add a little bit of something extra to the smaller hearts. So I took some Dollar Tree ribbon and just secured that to the back of the heart. So you'll still be able to see it from the front side, but I secured that around the back of the smaller heart. And I did this 3 times, 1 small heart for each of the larger hearts. And then using my hot glue, I put the smaller heart onto the larger heart, securing it right where those 2 pieces of jute had been put on the front of the heart. Now I did decorate each of these hearts differently, but that is what is so much fun with crafts, is you can do whatever you want. Hopefully this will inspire you, give you a few ideas of different ways that you could adorn or decorate the conversation hearts that the Dollar Tree has right now. Now, on my last trip to Dollar Tree, I found these frames and they are so pretty. They don't have any glass in them and they actually are really pretty just on their own, but I thought this would be perfect for a Valentine's craft. So I removed the backing and all of the contents from the frame, and this is what I was left with. Now I do like the gold like that, but I thought I could dress this up a little bit. So I took some Dixie Belle coffee bean chalk paint and I painted the entire frame with the Dixie Belle paint. I think you could probably use acrylic paint with this as well. Once I had the frame completely painted and it had time to dry, then I came back with some antique gold rub and buff, and I used a little dauber to add a little bit of that rub and buff to the frame. Now, I know this is kind of similar to what the frame looked like before, but I think the darker base color of the frame really adds to it and makes it look a lot more high-end than just a plastic frame from the Dollar Tree. I did add a little bit of rub and buff to the sides of the frame as well, so it looks more like it's meant to be that way and not just being painted on the top side of the frame. I have been really impressed with the things I've been finding at Dollar Tree lately. Next, I came back with some craft sticks, and using some Dixie Belle antiquing wax, I just added a little bit of that wax to a bunch of craft sticks because I'm going to put this into the back of the frame. But I don't want them to be dark. I want them to have different shades of brown and some of the natural on them. So there's different shades of colors on the craft sticks. Then I applied some glue to the back of the frame. And secured each of the craft sticks in place. And then I just put everything back together so the frame is exactly like it was, only a little bit better than when I got it from Dollar Tree. Now, like I said, I want to use this for my Valentine decor, so I have this wooden heart and I thought about putting that in place, but I have seen a lot of people doing button crafts right now and I have a lot of buttons, so I thought it would be fun to take red and shades of red buttons and make a heart. I probably could have done this by tracing a heart onto the backing, but I decided just to wing it. And I just kept adding different red buttons and pink buttons to the heart. Now, I did speed the video up, obviously, but I wanted you to see the process of putting all of the buttons together. So it did take a little bit of time, but honestly, I think it was totally worth it. It may not be a perfect heart, but I really like how that turned out. Now, I found these signs at Dollar Tree, and my Dollar Tree doesn't have the plain wooden heart, so I thought this would be a good stand-in. So I removed all of the wood extras from the sign. I took off the hanger, and then I also pulled off that stake. And I finally found some of these tiles at my last outing to Dollar Tree, and this is what's really going to make this project easy. And I want to save as much of that tile as I can for future projects, so I cut off what I would need to cover the heart. Then I removed the adhesive backing, and I used Dollar Tree wood glue to secure it to the wooden heart. And if you've never used these tiles before, when you start cutting them, it takes the adhesive backing off. So it's not one solid piece, it's a separate adhesive sheet on the back of the tile. But the Dollar Tree wood glue works really well for securing these tiles to wood and other materials. And I let the wood glue set for probably about 6 hours. Then I came back with some scissors and just cut it down so the tile looks like a heart. Next, I use some different acrylic paints, and since it is Valentine's Day, I'm just using different shades of red and pink and adding in some antique white to lighten it up and make it more of a pastel. This works really well for projects like this if you don't have that lighter color. And the antique white is more of a cream color, and I really like the look that it gives to the paint. So I just kind of pounce painted the acrylic paint onto the heart. I wanted to make sure to cover all parts of the tile. And once the paint had dried, I came back with some chalk paint. Now this is Dixie Belle chalk paint, and I really like this color. It's also kind of a cream color, and I lightly brushed that across the raised portions of the tile. I think this would be really pretty with other colors too, maybe a darker red or even a burgundy. And once I had the heart painted, I went to find some different fabrics that look kind of farmhouse and kind of homespun, and I literally just ripped the fabric into strips. I started by cutting it a little bit with the scissors, but then I just ripped down the material. That gives it that tattered edge, which I really like when I'm making a bow. So this is not going to be a traditional bow. This is just kind of a messy bow. So I'm stacking different types of material on top of each other, and then I'm going to gather everything up and tie it with some jute string. And I found this jute twine at Dollar Tree. It's a pretty big roll of jute for $1.25. So I just wrapped the jute around the center of all of those material strips and then just tied it into a knot. I think I got a little excited with all of the different types of fabric and ribbon to use in this bow. So I think hindsight, if I were making this again, I probably would not put quite so many pieces of the material into the bow. And then I just separated out the pieces of material and the ribbon, basically the stack of material and ribbon, and then I hot glued it off to the side on the heart tile. I moved the ribbon and material a little bit more to really make it look like a messy bow, and then I just added some extra embellishments that I had and I've had for a long time. I think that gold cordage, I found that at Hobby Lobby, and I like the look that it gives, so it looks a little bit fancier underneath that messy bow. I took a second one and I hot glued it opposite of the first one. So the first one I put down on the lower corner, and this one I put up higher opposite on the upper corner. And I also found these keys at Hobby Lobby. They were so pretty, and one of them actually had a heart on it, and I thought it would be perfect for Valentine's Day. But I wanted to add a little bit more ribbon. I don't know if I should have done that or not, but I added some more velvet ribbon to the center of my messy bow. And then I tore some scrapbook paper. It has kind of a texture to it. And then I just tore all the way around the edges. I want this to look kind of tattered and old. And then I found a sticker that says love on it. I believe I got this from Temu. And once I put that sticker onto the scrapbooking paper, I wasn't really happy with that torn edge, so I just used my scissors and cleaned it up. Then I came back with some distressing ink and put that all the way around the edges to make it look a little older and wrinkled it up a bit. And then I secured it in place onto the heart, along with a couple of wooden buttons. And of course, since it's Valentine's Day, I wanted to add a heart button. And then the key. Then I came back with the distressing ink and I used that all the way around the edges of the heart. And I thought it might look kind of nice to add a little bit of that distressing ink to the interior of the heart as well. And I am really glad that I decided to do that because I do like how that looks. All that was left to do was to put a hanger on the back of the heart. So I used some jute twine to make a hanger and secured it in place with some hot glue, and then put a piece of scrapbooking paper over top of the jute so that will give it a little bit more of a finished look. And here's my heart, all ready to be displayed for Valentine's Day this year. I really like how this turned out. It was very easy to do, and I think it looks so pretty. Okay, I was really lucky when I went to Dollar Tree and I found one of these heart wreaths. And it's very pretty like it is, but I don't want to use it like this. I'm going to go ahead and take off all of that tinsel. I don't want all of that material on the heart. I'm basically looking for the wreath form itself. All of the Dollar Trees that I've been visiting, they don't have the heart wreath forms, and this one is actually perfect for what I want to use it for. So I removed all of that tinsel garland that was all over the heart. Then I came back with a nipping tool and I removed all of the edges around the heart. So all of the little pokey ends that were holding that tinsel shiny garland in place, I removed all of those on the outside of the heart as well as the inside of the heart. Now, can you see why this is such a nice wreath form? So I have all of these flowers that I got on Amazon. They actually came in a box set, and these fit perfectly into those little squares. It's like a grid on the heart wreath. So I did set up all of the flowers at first to kind of get an idea of how I wanted them to be for my wreath. And next I used some hot glue to secure each of the flowers to the wreath form. I tried to keep the flowers uniform, so whatever I did on one side of the heart, I tried to duplicate that on the opposite side. And I used the larger flowers first, and then came back with more of a medium flower to fill in the empty spaces around the heart. And when I ran out of the larger flowers, then I started using the smaller flowers to fill in the open spaces. And again, whatever I did on one side of the heart, I tried to repeat that on the opposite side. I definitely like that a lot better than how it originally was. I added a few extra foam roses to the top. And here is my completed wreath. I love how this turned out. The pink flowers are just so beautiful and perfect for Valentine's. Now, a long time ago, I made some faux pumpkin cookies, and I thought these wooden hearts would be really pretty if I could make them look like cookies. So I took a couple of different colors of acrylic paint. So this is Country Tan, and then I also took some Antique White and mixed them together. I want to make these wooden hearts look like sugar cookies. By mixing the two acrylic colors together, I did get pretty close to the color that I was looking for. So I painted all the way around the outside edge of the hearts, as well as the flat part of the heart too. I didn't paint the bottom side, only the part that's going to show, which is the top. So this will be the top of my cookies. I did come back and add a little bit more of the Antique White just to lighten up my cookies a little bit. It did take a couple of coats of the acrylic paint to really cover up the wood grain pattern that was on the hearts. And once my cookies were dry, or the wooden hearts, I had red glitter glue sticks, and I thought I would try to use those first because on the other cookies that I'd made in the past, I used orange glue sticks and they worked perfect, but they weren't glitter. And the red is a little bit hard to work with. And I wasn't really happy with how the glue stick look was looking. So I came back with some Dollar Tree glitter glue and I covered up all of the hot glue that was glitter on each of the cookies. And while the glitter glue did work pretty well, I did end up coming back with some Dollar Tree red glitter and put that all over the cookies because that was the look that I really wanted. I think the red glitter was the way to go, and I should have done that from the beginning. Now, one extra step that I took with each of my cookies to secure that glitter in place was to use a little bit of a spray-on Mod Podge. This spray Mod Podge works really well, especially when you're working with glitter and you don't want it to get everywhere and you want it to stay in place. Something else that would work really well if you didn't have the spray Mod Podge is you can actually use an aerosol hairspray to get similar to the same look. And here are the cookies. I think they do look like cookies, at least a faux cookie. And I think they're really pretty. You can see some of that hot glue that I originally did is still visible, but the glitter honestly was the way to go. And I wish I would have done that from the start of the project. Now, have you seen these signs at Dollar Tree? They don't have them all the time, but I had a few of them and I saw something on Etsy and it was so pretty, and it's just a sign that says love. And I had this wine colored acrylic paint and I thought it would look really nice, that dark red color without being a really bright red. So I did do a couple of coats of that wine colored paint. And once it was dry, I came back with the Antique White and I just wrote out the word love in the lower corner of the sign. Now, if you have a Cricut machine, you could use vinyl for this, or you could use a stencil, but I just wanted to see what it would look like if I just hand painted the letters onto the sign. Then I came back and drew little tiny hearts all over the sign as well. And if you want to draw hearts like this, they're very easy. It's literally like you're making a V and it looks like a heart. I just had to get one more heart in there somewhere, just one. Okay, maybe two hearts, just a couple of more hearts. When you're doing a craft like this, sometimes it's really hard to make yourself stop and not have too many things in the background. Then I came back with this little sander and I sanded down all of the edges around the sign. And here is my finished sign, ready for my Valentine decorating. Like the other projects, this one was very simple to do, and I really like how it turned out, and I'm really glad that I made it. Now I got this at Hobby Lobby because all of their Christmas is 90% off, so it was less than I would buy it at Dollar Tree. And I took some Dixie Belle paint and I painted over this sign. I painted everything, all of the beads, the lettering, everything got a coat of the Dixie Belle paint. What's really nice with this paint is it's one coat. So even though the lettering of the sign was black, it did not show through, which I was really impressed. That's one of the many reasons of why I really like Dixie Belle paint. Yes, it is more expensive, but a little bit does go a long way. And the finish that it gives is really nice too. So like I said, I painted everything on the sign, the top, the sides, in between all of the little beading, everything. And once that had time to dry, I came back with some of that country tan acrylic paint and I lightly brushed it all over the sign. With the raised beads around the edges, it really picked up the paint and I think it looks really nice. And I'm really happy that I did something like this because this is something that I can use in a lot of my decorating no matter which season it is. And I thought this would be the perfect display for my wooden cookies that I made. Now I got this box at Dollar Tree and then I had these wooden knobs, like drawer pulls, drawer knobs. And what I did was take 4 of them and hot glue them to the bottom of the Valentine box. Next I came back with some Dollar Tree floral foam and I took a couple of the pieces to see if it would fit into the box. It was pretty perfect, but I thought I might want to have it be a little bit lower. So I cut off the ends and secured the foam into the box with some hot glue. Next, I came back with a bunch of different flowers that were all in shades of pink. So I'm using the bottom of the Dollar Tree gift box to be a Valentine vase for some flowers. Talk about an easy project to do. I'm sure you have lots of silk flowers and I'm sure your Dollar Tree has these boxes right now, and it makes a really nice bouquet to either add to your decorating or even to give as a gift. And even though the flowers are fake or artificial, I think they look really nice in the heart box, the heart vase, and I love this addition for my Valentine decorating. All right, for this next craft, I'm going to be using some scrap wood that I've had from other projects because I really like to recycle. And I'm going to paint it a couple of shades of pink. So I mixed a carmine pink and a bright red to get a really intense bright pink color. And I'm actually going to be doing this with 2 blocks of wood because I want 2 different sizes of this project because I really think this is gonna look great. Next, I have this corrugated craft paper, and using my blocks, I'm going to take this corrugated paper and I'm going to make a heart. I'm actually going to make 2 hearts, one for each of these blocks of wood. And it's just like when we were little, and an easy way to make a heart is fold the paper in half, then just cut 1/2 of the heart shape. And see, now I have a heart. So I'm going to size this for my block of wood, and that one is pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and do another heart. Again, I'm folding the corrugated paper in half, then I'm going to cut 1/2 of the heart shape. That one is pretty good as well. Now, the one thing that did happen with the corrugated paper is it did have a couple of little extra pieces. So I just took a smaller pair of scissors, cut it off, and then made sure that it was the right size for my wood. Now I'm going to be taking some texturizing paste. Now this paste does stay white And I want to add a little bit of texture to the heart. So I'm just going to put on some of this texture paste, and then I'm also going to use a little bit of white acrylic paint just to fill in the blank areas and outline the heart a little bit. That way you can really tell that this is a shape of a heart. Now, while those were drying, I came back to my scrap pieces of wood and I just put some jute twine around the center. I want to add a lot of texture to these blocks, so the jute will give one layer of texture. And if you're going to repeat this project, do as many strands of that jute as you like. If you want to do 5, do 5. If you want to do 10, do 10. It's completely up to you. So for the shorter block, I did 3 strands of the jute, and then I secured the heart to the front of it. And then I took some more jute and I made a bow and put that on top of the heart. I secured that in place with some hot glue, and then I just cut down the tails of the bow. And I repeated the process on the larger heart. Talk about an easy DIY. This was so much fun and it was so easy to do. I really love how this looks, and I think it is a great addition to my Valentine's Day decorations. Now, I found this on Creative Fabrica, and it's basically just a picture that I printed onto some copy paper. But what I want to do is cut this out. So I'm going to use this paper cutter. This is actually a Zoid trimmer or cutter, and I cannot believe this, but I found this at the Dollar Tree. Yeah, this was $1.25, and I've seen these on Amazon, and I believe they're around $10 or $11. So I was so excited when I found this at the Dollar Tree. I also found this cutting mat at Dollar Tree. I cannot believe this. I got the cutting mat and the paper cutter for $2.50. What a deal. So now I'm going to use this texturizing medium to make this piece of paper look like a painting. I've seen people do this with Mod Podge, but I knew there would be a product that would give this a little bit more texture. So I used a palette knife and I just spread out some of this acrylic medium onto the piece of paper. I don't want it to look like a piece of paper, so that's why I'm trying this. And this is what the piece of paper looks like when it is completely dry. None of the colors bled, and I think it looks great. So now I have this Dollar Tree frame. I'm just going to put the Cupid picture into the Dollar Tree frame. But my fake painting is a little bit bigger than the frame, so I just sized the picture so that it will fit into the frame. And this texture medium, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how awesome this stuff works. Then I used my hot glue gun to put some glue onto the back of the frame. And then I just put the picture into the frame. I did remove the glass because I want it to look like a painting. Now, I think you can see a little bit of the texture when I turn the frame, just basically to show you the texture. This was so much fun. I cannot believe how this turned out, and I can't wait to do it in future projects. Now, I got this at the Dollar Tree and it was so pretty. I believe this is a candle holder, but I really love the texture of the candle holder, which is going to be a vase. And I didn't have any red spray paint, so I just took some bright red chalk paint from Apple Barrel and I painted the jar with the red paint. Now the finish is a little bit flat, so I'm going to come back with this acrylic paint and I'm going to do another coat of paint. So I started by putting some of the paint inside of the candle holder, which is now my vase. And then I did a coat of the paint on the outside as well. But if you had spray paint, that would probably be easier. And I wanted to make some polka dots. I'm really into polka dots right now. So I just used a small paintbrush and I added polka dots to my vase. Now the acrylic paint does not have a glossy finish, so I did come back with a high gloss finish and just painted that onto my vase. I did the outside of the vase as well as the top rim, just to really make this look shiny and like it's a ceramic vase. Then I came back with some jute twine and tied it right around the top. And then I just added on a regular bow to the front. Isn't that pretty? Now, since I'm using this for Valentine's Day, I had these hearts that I secured to some Dollar Tree wooden dowels, and I painted them with acrylic paint. One is a very light pink, and I painted the front as well as the back of the heart. And then I came back with another pink, and I believe this is carmine pink, and I painted the second heart. Again, I painted the front and the back. Next, I added some floral foam to the center of my vase, and then I had these faux, I don't even know what these plants are, but they were really pretty. So I just cut some sections off and added them to my little vase. I think that's pretty just like it is, but since it's Valentine's Day, I wanted to add the wooden hearts. Something very simple to do, but I think it looks really pretty. And here it is as a part of my Valentine's decorations. Now I really love adding little blocks to my decor or tiered trays, whatever. So I had this block, I painted it white, and then I added some pink polka dots. Then I came back with some wooden letters. These are small wooden letters like I've used before. And I had the letters LOVE and I painted them with the carmine pink acrylic paint. And once they were dry, I just secured them to the front of my little wood sign. And I found it easiest to use a tweezer to pick up the letter and then paint the glue onto the back. The tweezer is also very helpful for placing the letters or moving them around a little bit if they aren't quite right on the sign or whatever you're going to be using these letters for. Having the raised letters like this really gives a 3D look to the block of wood, which is a little bit different than a lot of the signs that you can find at places like Hobby Lobby. And this is something very simple that anyone can do, and you don't have to have beautiful handwriting because you're going to be using the letters. And I really wanted to add this to one of the tiered trays or tiered risers that I have, and I think it looks really nice next to the vase I just made. Now I had this sign from Dollar Tree and I really liked the size of it. I want to say this is 5 inches by 5 inches. So I removed the picture from the frame and then I removed all of the things that were holding it in place. Now, this is a really nice backing, so I just sanded down all of the lettering that was on the sign or the backing, and then I used some Dixie Belle chalk paint, and I painted the sign white, and I believe this chalk paint was in the color Fluff. And then I also painted the frame. I did everything on the frame that could potentially show, and I did it in that same fluff color by Dixie Belle. And while that was drying, I came back with these wooden hearts and this bright red chalk paint, and I painted all of the hearts. Now I think you can see that I have these hearts on some painter's tape because that will keep the hearts in place, and I can paint a lot of them all at one time. Now an easy way to add something like this to a sign is to use Mod Podge. So I painted the entire piece that I had painted, which is the back, and I painted that with Mod Podge. Then I just took the red hearts and placed them onto the backing. This is a craft I've wanted to do for so long, but I was always afraid to do it because I wanted to make sure the hearts were going to be all equally spaced. And by using the Mod Podge on the backing, look at that, they are all spaced equally. When that was all dry, then I took my hot glue gun and put that around the frame. Then all I had to do was put the hearts into the frame, and this is the end result. A super easy project, again, no skill was required, and I think it looks great. And I can't believe it, but we've reached the end of the video. These are all of my projects. I love how they turned out. And if you enjoyed this video, I have lots more videos as well. So go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you click the bell notification, you'll get an alert every time I have a new video coming out. And I have a lot of spring and farmhouse style type DIY decor ideas that I'm going to turn into projects, and I think you might enjoy them. So I have to say a great big thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.